Okay, welcome. The October 6th, 2025 Board of Education meeting is called to order. The board welcomes everyone present. The Wichita Public Schools will be the premier district of choice and inspire each student and staff member to thrive and to become future ready within the greater community. This is a business meeting of the Board of Education, and we are pleased that you have taken the time to join us. For the roll call, all board members are present except for Melody McCray Miller. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Our color guard tonight is from the South High School JROTC program. Please stand for the presentation of the colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Forward, march. March line, march. Color guard, halt. Left, face. Present, colors. Ma'am, requesting permission to post the colors.
You may post the colors.
Thank you, ma'am. Order, colors. Prepare to post. Post. Present, arms. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms. About, face. Forward, march.
Thank you. And before we get started with our presentations, I'd like to give Kelly a moment to explain the space that we're in, because we are in a new meeting space right now.
So thank you, Diane. Welcome to everybody, all our parishioners and our staff, our parishioners, sorry, geez. It's Monday, not Sunday, my bad. To all of our guests that are here, our patrons and our staff. We are in a new space, and we're excited about it for two big reasons. One of which is we needed to upgrade this space with technology, and we needed to upgrade our space at North High with technology. It was at end of life in both rooms. And so to be more efficient in responding to what we hear our public tell us a lot, we decided to take two spaces and put them into one. Our board meeting space here on Monday nights, once a month, will be for the board, but 4 to 5 times a week for the staff, we use this for training space. So we were able to upgrade it and invest our resources one time instead of doubling it up in 2 different spaces. The other big advantage to this space is that it's ADA accessible. Our old space at North High School did not have any facilities for wheelchair-bound individuals, patrons, or staff, and that became an issue 2 times at least since I've been superintendent. So this space being more secure, more accessible, and more efficient use of dollars, we thought was a good use of our dollars, and I think it turned out nice. So anyway, this is our new space. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Okay, Latona, first item.
Good News Wichita Collective Impact Partnership.
Welcome, Gil.
Thank you and good evening. Superintendent Beebleville, President Albert, members of the board. I got some exciting news about our partnership with Wichita Collective Impact. Got a nice group of leaders behind me. It's a collaboration that's making a real difference for our students in our community. Thank you. Now you can hear me. I'm honored to share some exciting news about our partnership with the Wichita Collective Impact. The collaboration is making a real difference for our students in our community. Wichita Collective Impact's mission is simple but powerful: to connect people, organizations, and resources to improve kindergarten readiness and third grade reading proficiency, change the trajectory of students, and increasing economic prosperity for our families. This is a partnership that aligns directly with the USD 259's strategic goals. What makes Wichita Collective Impact unique is the way it brings together local organizations, Cargill, the YMCA, Wichita State's PPMC, and our own district, each contributing their strengths. This partnership is about increasing student success, transforming education and workforce development, and ensuring our programming meets the real needs of our community. I would like to pause and introduce the community leaders with me today that made our partnership a huge success. So starting with the YMCA, I don't think he's here, but Ron McMahon, who is the Chief Executive Officer. Here today is Mim McKenzie, if you give a wave. They know who you are. There you go. Thank you. Chief Operating Officer. Matt Engel was not able to be with us, but he's a branch director. We do have Tyrone Baker, branch director, and Sandy Kimball, director and community schools coordinator at Spate, who you'll hear from here in just a little bit. From our WSU Public Policy Management Center, we have Misty Bruckner, director of WSU PPMC, and Brad Richards, community program coordinator with the PPMC. We are awesome for them to spend some time with us this evening. We also have a broad coalition of partners that you can see on the screen, and the list will continue to grow. By working together, we amplify the impact of organizations already doing great work, aligning resources and expertise to achieve better outcomes for our students and families. Collective impact is different from isolated efforts. Instead of working in silos, we coordinate our actions, share resources, and achieve results that no single organization could accomplish alone. This approach is proven to deliver better results for our students and our community. And now I'm going to pass it over to Sherry, who's going to share a little bit of the data and programming.
Good evening. Our partnership with the Wichita Collective Impact is strategic. They assist us in programming for third grade readiness or third grade reading proficiency. So you'll see in the data that we have a Smart Start program that started a few years ago, and every year that enrollment has increased in those programs. So last year, the STAR program was started at Spate Elementary. It is an after-school program that was started by Miss Sandy Kimball, who's our guest for tonight, and she is going to explain a little bit about the STAR program.
So you have your notes. Hi, my name is Sandy Kimball. I am talking way loud. I'm with the YMCA, Wichita Collective Impact, and I'm going to tell you about STAR, which is Students Together After School Reading. And so what the STAR program is an after-school literacy program, and it is it's aligned with the strategic plan of the district, where we're trying to improve student outcomes. And so we meet 3 days a week for an hour after school. They get a snack. We do reading, literacy activities, and then we have some fun at the end with some games, which we know all the kids love. We also know that the kids in our program don't necessarily come and love reading, so we want to combine the two so they want to come back. And so what we've learned at STAR is just more than just numbers in a reading program. It is a program where the students came in November last year. They didn't want to be there. Their parents signed them up because they needed extra help. The kids knew they were struggling. They knew they were behind. And here they were being forced 3 days a week to go hang out and do something they didn't like doing. And so we worked with them, our staff, which is our team is built from Spate teachers and paras, and then we have different partners that come in and work. And so we just built those relationships over the next couple of months. And what we found after the first of the year, the kids came back and they were starting to go out of their comfort zones. They were starting to read to us willingly, and they were starting to read in front of their peers. And they're like us. They don't want to do something in front of people they see every day that they're not good at. So them willing to be out of their comfort zone it showed their growth. And then I was in the hallway one day and one child came up and said, "Are we having STAR today?" And it wasn't like, are we having STAR today? Is, are we having STAR today? And I was like, yes. And like, yes. And then it became more students coming up and wanting to be there. And so we built these relationships. And when we first started, we had a select few third graders that were that the teachers recommended. This year, we are happy that we are able to open it up to all third graders who are able to attend, and also the third graders in the newcomer class at Spate. And so through this, we've developed relationships outside of just the START program. We got to do a reading day back in December that we're going to do again this December, where we gave free books out to every child. We're working with their family nights. We're bringing in resources for the families. And we're also bringing more partners outside. This year, we are having applied study students from WSU join our team. And then we are working more closely with them to develop the curriculum and make it, kind of bring it up to what we need it to be. We're right there, and this is just fine tuning it as much as we can. So it just kind of shows what happens when the district comes together and partners come together for those students, and what we can do when we all come together. So if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for sharing about your experience, and thank you so much for explaining some of the strategic partnerships and how you guys are coming in and actually helping align with our goals as a district. So thank you very much.
Very good.
Oh, sorry, Sandy, real quick, how do you spell your last name?
Can't ask me hard questions. Kimball.
E-E-L-L. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Right here.
Latona, next item.
Gates Foundation Partnership AI Math Tutoring with EDIA.
Okay, welcome, Holly.
Hi, good evening. I'll let Latona get this pulled up. So, excuse me, this summer we heard about, an opportunity where we could get some AI math tutoring available through a program called EDIA. So this is something that we are in partnership with the Gates Foundation. So we decided, because there was a limited number of licenses, to try it in our geometry and algebra 2 courses in high school, thinking about our strategic plan goals around ACT in the high school, ACT work keys, as well as when do students take the high school state assessment is in the sophomore year. So that's how we chose those 2 classes. So through EDIA, we have 5,000 licenses paid for by the Gates Foundation, so it is free to use. We have a little bit of setup cost and professional development cost for our teachers. So they were trained on September 2nd, and so we're just very early in the implementation, so I don't have any data to share with you, but teachers have some choice in how they implement this. They can assign standards aligned assignments. They can assign an adaptive path for students. They can also use the data to use it for small group instruction. These students need to work on these standards. These students need to work on others. So it's a product we're excited to see what might be possible, but just wanted to share this to highlight the partnership with Gates Foundation and the EDIA math program.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thanks, Holly. No, you're good. No questions. Latona, next item.
Appointment of Director of Partnerships and Belonging.
Okay, welcome back, Gil.
Glad to be back. Well, I'm honored to introduce a new member of the Wichita Public Schools family, Mr. Corinthian Kelly, who joins us as our new Director of Partnerships and Belonging. Corinthian brings deep experience in community transformation and youth development. He most recently served as Initiatives Manager at the Stand Together Foundation, where he led grassroots efforts to revitalize neighborhoods and empower families. Previously, Corinthian managed access and engagement programs at Wichita State University's Public Policy and Management Center and completed a fellowship with the Sedgwick County Manager's Office. He also served as Outreach Manager of WSU's TRIO Educational Opportunity Centers, connecting under-resourced adults with higher education and support services. His earlier work includes directing after-school programs in Baltimore and Richmond, and serving at our own Little Early Childhood Center after relocating to Wichita in 2017. As Director of Partnerships and Belonging, Corinthian will provide strategic leadership to foster a culture of inclusion, connection, and shared responsibility across our district. He will lead the development and implementation of restorative practices that strengthen relationships, repair harm, and build community within our schools. Corinthian will work collaboratively with district departments, school leaders, and external partners to create systems that support student belonging, staff engagement, and school partnerships. Corinthian's leadership will be instrumental in building safe, supportive, and inclusive environments where all students and staff can thrive. We look forward to the positive impact his experience and vision will bring to our students, families, and the greater Wichita community. Please join me in welcoming Corinthian Kelly to the premier school district, the Wichita Public Schools. Don't know if you have any questions.
Corinthian, did you want to say anything?
I'll take this opportunity. Thank you so much, Chair Alberts, Superintendent Bielefeld, to the board members. I am so excited, honored, and humbled for this opportunity, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my predecessor and mentor, the late, great Dr. William Polite, for the work that he did for this district and for the community. He served well, so I hope to follow in those footsteps. The only thing I'll leave is that this work to set all students up for success is not something that we can do to or for the students that we work with, but it's something that we have to do with students and their families in partnership with this awesome community to ensure that every student is future ready. So I look forward to endeavoring in this work with you all, and thank you all so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Corinthian, and welcome to the team. Okay, Latona, next item.
United Teachers of Wichita.
Welcome, Katie.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening, President Albert, Vice President, McCray Miller, she's not here tonight, Superintendent Bielefeld, and distinguished board members. I wanted to share just a couple of challenges we're hearing from educators right now. And can you hear me okay? Sorry, getting used to this new room. One is the amount of preparation time it's taking for the new elementary math series. Our teachers are excited about the hands-on learning opportunities it provides, but we've had several reach out in the past few weeks about creating and organizing the materials and how much time that's taking. I reached out to Learning Services as soon as I spoke with these teachers, and Amanda Sharshall, she was on it. This week on Thursday, she's partnering with a group of elementary teachers at Gammon Elementary to explore ways to reduce that prep time while keeping those lessons engaging and just supporting them with this new math series. And so that kind of collaboration really helps teachers feel supported and focus more on instruction and less on time-consuming prep. So that's been wonderful, and we really appreciate that. We also had a concern about a very large kindergarten class at one of our title schools. We know it's incredibly challenging for primary teachers to move classrooms mid-semester, but wanted to thank Susan Willis and Vicki Manning in HR for their quick response. They moved a teacher that had a much smaller class size to balance those class sizes out. I also wanted to request that you take a look at the elementary BOE class size review policy. I think the last time it was updated was 2006, so it's been about 20 years. So there might be new data out there on class size that could be helpful. Recently, I met with Dr. Evans to discuss expanding mentoring and improve access to resources for our special education teachers. This came after conversations with newer educators requesting more support, and including one who had come from another state and just left the profession a few weeks ago. Dr. Evans and his team are developing a new mentoring program and exploring ways to streamline responsibilities so the teachers aren't stretched so thin. So we feel very encouraged by that work. Our special education teachers serve some of our most vulnerable students, and those strong support systems are key to retaining these educators. Later this week, I'll be visiting one of the continuum programs. As you know, we've had some concerns from staff on the pilot program, and so I'm going with Ms. Seeley to hear more directly from staff this week. So look forward to that. Finally, we're excited about the community schools launch in 7 of our schools this year, and I know Mr. Alvarez is going to talk about that later. I know for the last few years, we've talked a lot about community schools in meetings with board members and the superintendent. And Mike Harris, he's been a huge proponent of our vice president of the community school model, and really, really excited about this work. So we appreciate the partnership that we have. This summer, we went to a conference meeting with our steering team, teachers, and I know Ms. McCray Miller was there with us, and then Nok Fong went with us, with the team to Albuquerque in the spring. And so we're really, really excited about this work. I brought Becca Davison. She is at Hamilton Middle School, but she went on both those visits. And so she just wanted to kind of share about, just from the teacher standpoint, what she saw and what she's excited about. So.
Good evening. My name is Becca Davison, and I'm a middle school social studies teacher at Hamilton. I also serve on the advisory committee for community schools here in the Wichita Public School District. Community schools are all about using the school as a central hub, a place where students, families, and community partners can come together. This approach helps recognize that learning doesn't just happen inside the classroom. It supports that needs need to be met for all of our students and their families before true learning can be achieved. When I was in New Mexico last year, I saw firsthand how powerful this model can be. The community came together to make sure that their students all got home safely, they had their basic resources that they needed in order to succeed, and that families were supported as well. Schools offered wraparound services such as mental health and wellness programs, as well as counseling and food assistance, all under one roof. When students' needs are met, they come to school ready to learn, and teachers can focus on teaching, rather than worrying if their students are hungry, tired, or struggling, because they already know that these needs are being met. We're excited to build that same kind of partnership with our families, local organizations, and all the wonderful resources that call this city home. Together, we can make our schools true centers of learning, care, and opportunity for every child and their family in the Wichita Public Schools.
Thank you, Becca. We just wanted to share from the teacher perspective how powerful that can be. So, yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Katie and Becca. Appreciate you guys, your comments. Latona, next item.
Service Employees International Union.
Okay, I do not see a representative from SEIU. So next item.
Public Communications.
So for public communications, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. And if you have signed up for public comment, you will have 3 minutes to speak. And we kindly ask that you acknowledge your allotted time according to the timer displayed on the screen. We encourage you to share your thoughts openly and honestly, but we ask that your remarks remain focused on school-related matters and are respectful and constructive. The board will listen to your input, but will not respond during this meeting. However, we are listening and may follow up as appropriate. And with that, we welcome our first speaker.
Martin Shockett.
Welcome, Martin.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Superintendent, board members, my name is Martin Shockett. I teach English at Chester Lewis. I'm also a UTW executive board member. I was actually at my English department chair meeting tonight, so I just thought I'd come make a quick comment. So thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak tonight. I have 2 topics, though they're related in nature, so I'll make this relatively quick. My first topic is about the District Financial Oversight Committee. The Financial Oversight Committee is an incredible collection of stakeholders tasked with very important work, and I'm proud to have been asked for my participation in the committee along with UTW President Katie and our colleagues at SEIU. Our labor voices were left out of the discussion last year, so I was heartened to be met with the inclusion this year, so thank you for for pushing for that. Because it is imperative to center teacher voices in the ongoing conversations about budgets, since we make up the largest group, I'd say, at 259, right? And what's best for teachers, I'd say, is what's best for students, right? So our first committee meeting was a couple weeks ago, and I already found it to be more than informative. I have the booklet of the budget, and you all certainly have your literal hands full with that. So kudos to you all. I wholeheartedly appreciate the voice on the committee, but I would also suggest further democratizing decision-making on that board by granting votes to teacher and support staff voices as we move forward with the work on the committee. My second topic, again, is related to that. It's also about centering teacher voices during the district leadership listening tour. A sizable portion was out at Chester Lewis last Wednesday to have our session, where superintendent was kind enough to lead us in the discussion about our building and our unique challenges that present us in our building with our program. So during the session, Superintendent Bielefeld correctly pointed out that it's wrong for our most vulnerable students to not have the same resources and facilities as others around the district. So I'd love for y'all just to keep us in your thoughts as you have been. So, and while the session was only what we could dream of within the scope of a staff meeting, I do feel better heard and seen as a teacher. So I do appreciate the effort you all making to make the round. The others behind us here, right? Hopefully my colleagues feel a similar sense of acknowledgement around the district as you continue to do your tour, because accounting for teacher voices might be the greatest indicator for guiding decisions about facilities master plans and future bond proposals in the future. So thank you again for your time and dedication to the long-term needs of our students and staff and taxpayers.
Thank you, Martin. Latona, next speaker.
Dave Fish.
Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Fish.
Thank you. President, board, superintendent, leadership team. I'm Dave Fish, and this is my wife, Marty, and we are lifelong supporters of the district, as well as OK School. Our children went there. We're proud products and neighbors of OK Elementary and USD 259. Last Friday, before we were getting ready to attend a North High reunion fundraiser and Hall of Fame celebration, we were contacted by the media about the district's 3% enrollment decline from last year. And they came to our house, spoke with us later on that, actually Saturday night. District, we saw the video, and district spokesman Bobby Armendariz explained to the media that the drop wasn't a surprise, citing lower birth rates, saying the district may need to consider right-sizing the number of schools that operates. He also said we can't operate schools that are half full. It's just not efficient. But that narrative does not tell the whole story. When families hear the right sizing, which is a buzzword, when they hear it, it means closing neighborhood schools. They start looking for somewhere else to go, and that creates even more decline. There are OK neighborhood parents that have said, we will have to move elsewhere. As Marty told the reporters, parents moved into this neighborhood because they thought they'd be dropping their kids off to school on their way to work. And that convenience and community connection are part of what OK Elementary matters for kids, parents, teachers, and in this supportive neighborhood. So tonight, we're asking every member and candidate of the school board, Democrat, Republican, independent, nonpartisan, to support reopening discussions on the current facility master plan and to make OK Elementary and to take it off of any closure list. Here's a few facts that are worth noting. OK celebrates 150 years of service this year compared to 69 and 70 years from our neighboring schools. OK's facility is actually the newest of the three, with a strong brick and mortar structure, mostly built in the last 11 to 20 years, and twice as many classrooms added since 2000. This is from USD 259 records. OK sits on the largest acreage of the three nearby schools per the Sedgwick County Appraiser's Office. And our message is simple.
Thank you, Mr. Fish.
Keep OK open for good.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Fish.
Thank you so much.
Latona, next speaker.
Savannah Good Posture.
Welcome, Savannah.
Hello, members of the board and Mr. Bielefeld, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me this evening. Like Latonia said, my name is Savannah Goodpasture. I'm a current first grade teacher at Gammon Elementary here in the district, and I am here to talk about student needs. More than ever, our students are coming to us in diapers or not potty trained, with low language skills and behaviors that exceed the support that we are able to provide day in and day out. Because of this, teachers are typically spending more time making sure our students are comfortable in school, teaching them how do we sit in a chair, how do we ask to go to the bathroom, and teaching those emotional regulation skills along with executive functioning skills that we are lacking. All of these skills are definitely important for our students to be successful in our classrooms, not only now, but down the line as they age and progress through school. And all of these things are things that educators are willing to do and are doing currently. And so I just ask that we start seeing a little bit more grace for our educators, a little bit more support in saying it's okay if you are not jumping right into curriculum, and that we are ensuring our kids feel safe at school and that they are getting those needs met, because we know that if they're coming to school hungry and tired and not able to communicate, it can be really frustrating for them. And so just going into classrooms and saying thank you to a teacher, because they are all working very, very hard to meet those success miles for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Latona, next item.
Education, community schools pilot progress, partnerships, and possibilities.
Okay, Kelly.
All right. So as mentioned earlier tonight, we're going to have we've done a few little workshop things on some community schools, but if I'd invite the team to come on forward, and we're going to learn more with an update and what's coming in the future. So welcome.
Good evening, and it's so good to be here again. I thank you, President Albert, and also Superintendent Bielefeld, and distinguished board members. As you recall, we were able to share with you the whole community school projects about a couple of months ago. So tonight, we'd like to give you an update that will knock your socks off, I promise. Just so that we can ground everyone where we're at. If you recall, community schools is a strategy that integrates academics, health, and social services, youth development, and family community engagement with the goal of improving student learning and strengthening our families and build healthier communities. With that, I wanted to just simply share with you where we are and kind of our journey. We have a pilot program with Allen Elementary, Anderson, Colvin, Dodge, Spade, Stanley, and Washington, and that's actually Adams. We've hired coordinators. If you recall, the last time we didn't have one of our coordinators, so we have hired all of our coordinators. They're all on board. We have given the needs assessment. We've actually did that in English, Spanish, Swahili, and Pashto. It is amazing to get those languages in the hands of our families. The coordinators have begun data analysis with that and setting outcomes and measurements based on that data analysis. And we've even begun developing partnerships based on individual building needs, so the autonomy of the buildings and the coordinators to build what's needed there. So tonight, what we wanted to do is give you some boots on the ground testimonials. So we have Stanley Elementary Principal Amy Hart and Community School Coordinator Eric Inkmeyer here, and they're going to talk about the collaborative leadership, the community schools framework, which we shared with you previously, and the community partners that they've developed at Stanley Elementary. So if you will give them your attention, and they will knock your socks off.
Hi, I'm Amy Hart, principal at Stanley Elementary. I can tell you we are very honored to be a part of this community school initiative. And our journey actually began a little over a year ago when we were a welcoming building for our district. We welcomed about 80 students, which came down to about 70 families. We felt our why then, and we feel it even more now. We spent the last year building trust and identifying needs. This year, with being part of the initiative, we have been able to have our dedicated community coordinator bring our ideas to life. Mr. Ingmeyer is now going to talk to you a little bit about our framework and some of our community partners we've been able to bring on.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to share the progress that we've made through the community schools model, especially how we've leveraged the strategic partnerships that we've been able to build and to go out and discover as we've started this school year. At Stanley, we believe that schools thrive when they're closely connected to the communities. And so we really had that as a focus for the start of this school year. The school foundation that we've used kind of as a pillar, there's 4 pillars to kind of the community schools model. The first one is the integrated student services. This you can look at as like providing health care, food and clothes pantries, really meeting the needs of students and families. Really a lot of times even before they get to school. The second pillar is the expanded learning time and opportunities. This is evening activities, sponsored field trips, more hands-on learning experiences for our students, and really meeting teacher needs that they would have in the classroom and outside the classroom. The third pillar is the active family and community engagement. We're looking at developing at Stanley like a parent university, a place for parents to go and get education and learning and experiences to help them be successful and continue their careers or whatever else they would have to do. Also family events, right? Finding ways for businesses, churches, nonprofits to partner with us. And the fourth pillar is the collaborative leadership and practices, right? This is through advisory groups. Tomorrow night we'll meet with our PTO, and that's been a really good experience so far this year with our parents, and really using those times to talk to them and hear what they would have for their school and what they would like to see for us to be able to help them in their journeys. Also, we've done some parent and teacher surveys, right? So we've got out there and really tried to gather this information. And so I want to focus a little bit on our partnerships that we've had. We've partnered with some local organizations. One that comes to mind is a nonprofit called Gathered. They really work on connecting, making sure that families stay together, their students and the families, and just all the things that happen. They work really close with DCF. And so they have come alongside of us. And even through that very new partnership, we've actually been able to help a few families. We had a single mother was dealing with a dual state custody case. And we were able to reach out to Gathered, who was then able to reach out to some folks in other states and really help our parent just through that time as she continues with that process, which can just be, it's a lot, it's daunting task. And so we've been able to do that. It was really exciting to see. Other partnerships, we've distributed fresh produce at Novo Church, which is right across the street to the north of our building. We've been working with them and providing fresh produce to our families. So after school, they can come over, grab some fruit as they go home after picking up their child. It's really cool to see the students come over with their parents and doing that. So that's been a great experience. Probably our biggest thing is that our work is really rooted in relationships, right? A few weeks ago, I had a teacher that had reached out to me, just expressed concerns about the rising cost of classroom snacks and kind of providing some things in the classroom. And so I talked with Principal Hart and we reached out to the Wichita Public Schools Foundation. And would you believe it, by the afternoon, I had a whole cart full of snacks that they had, and they were so kind to give us. And so we're really trying to start almost a snack pantry for our teachers so that they can request, hey, we're low on this, to be able to come and get some things. And so that's been great to see. Other things that we've been involved in, we had some community events. So Novo Church that I mentioned earlier, they hosted a Stanley Block Party the 1st of September, and they had free food, free music, free games. We invited a lot of our families to come out. There was some other local resources there for our families to see. It was a great just time and experience, just to be able to kind of to hang out together and enjoy some music and do that. So that's been good. We also were a part of the Open Streets ICT down there. So we were invited to be a part of the Family Hub and had a booth down there. And Principal Hart and I had an opportunity to speak to people there that day. And just a great way to have our families come out and be able to see us in a different context. And then being in the Family Hub, they were able to get connected. We saw a lot of our families talking to the different groups there. And so that was a great experience. So looking ahead, we're committed to deepening our existing partnerships and exploring new ones, right? So when schools serve as hubs of connection and opportunities, students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally.
So just to close, I want to make sure that I give you a little bit more insight from my lens as a building leader. The impact has already been visible as families feel more connected and supported. Students feel more welcomed and eager to come to school. We're beginning to see those changes reflected in our chronic absenteeism in the right direction. Our overall building goal is a 93.8% average daily attendance. We are currently sitting at 93.5% and going strong. And 3 of our grade levels, kinder, second, and third, have already surpassed our end of the year goal with 94 to 95% average daily attendance. People often tell us that Stanley feels like home. This is the biggest compliment to us. And we're able to see this because families are starting to join us throughout the day, including lunch recess time, just coming and playing with kids. As Mr. Ingmeyer said, we also want to make sure that we are supporting our staff. And we've seen this because our staff spend a lot of their own money to help support basic needs. So we started this snack pantry, and we have other things, a clothing closet and stuff in our building to make sure we're lessening that burden on our staff. We want you to know that we believe a school should feel like a place where every family belongs, where staff are supported, and where children know they are valued and cared for. And I can proudly say that this is happening, and we'd love for you to come visit.
Thank you very much. So as you can see, in order for this strategy to be effective, collaborative leadership with the principal, the community school coordinator, and building leadership must be intentional. And Principal Hart and Mr. Ingmeyer have demonstrated the ability to do so in a very short time. Through their collective efforts, Stanley has used the community school framework and needs assessment to develop great partnerships and to provide the needs of their families and their students. I'd also like to take this time to invite Principal Wilkes and community school coordinator Thomas Johnson to share how they've used collaborative leadership and their needs assessment to develop some outcomes and measurements from their building, Dodge Elementary.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Wilkes, and I'm the principal at Dodge Literacy Magnet. I'm also a very proud 34-year veteran of this district. And it actually, if you do the math, 47 years, I'll let you try to guess how old I am. I am a proud product of the Wichita Public Schools. And when Gil Alvarez presented the opportunity to become a part of a community school model, it was first time in a long time that finally there was something that aligned with the vision that we have for our children at Dodge. It reflects our belief that schools can only thrive as you've heard before, when they're the hubs of collaboration, equity, and the holistic support of our students and our families. And it's what my staff and I have been doing. It's what this district has done for years and years and years. But we've realized in the last 5 to 7 years that we can't do it alone. And so we are looking to build the opportunity to connect with our families and our community. We often wonder if people really know where Dodge Literacy Magnet is, because we are tucked away in a neighborhood that is north of Town West Square that is closed. And so it's interesting to see people respond when we give the directions to where we're located, because many people don't know we are in that neighborhood serving families and children. We are looking forward. We are very much, boots on the ground is very much who we are, because we are building from the ground up in terms of reestablishing our connections with our family, but more importantly, with the community that we serve. So we are excited about the opportunity to bring people together, not just the principal, not just the community school coordinator, but our teachers, our families, and local community people who can work together with us to craft a stronger vision for student success. We have a goal of being intentional about collaborative leadership. And we want to make sure that our parents and our community people are involved in what's happening in our school. And that can only happen when we know about what our children and our families are experiencing. We have to base these decisions and set these directions that we want to move based on the lived experiences of our students and their families. And so for us, it is, and it always has been, about removing barriers to learning, removing barriers to being successful humans, and removing barriers that prevent our kids from acquiring that high quality education that we all endeavor for our kids. We're excited. This work is going to empower our building leadership team in the building level, but allow us to build these connections so that we can work together to strengthen what we have started at Dodge Literacy Magnet, both on the academic and the non-academic side, to really start eliminating some of the barriers that are preventing our kids from learning. And it starts with the needs assessment process. And so I'm going to turn it over to the fabulous Thomas Johnson and let him share with you his work so far.
Hello. Kind of crazy being on this side of things. I grew up coming to these board meetings with my mother, and so to be here where I am now is definitely full circle moment. So as Principal Wilkes said, as far as our needs assessment and what it is, what it does, well, it's assessing our needs. So how are we doing that? Well, we've put together, and by we, I mean the fabulous LaTonya Kennedy, has put together our needs assessment that helps gauge some of the demographic background of our families, some of the challenges, some of the strengths and weaknesses, things of that nature. So with us, Dodge being a literacy magnet, we draw students in from all parts of town, as far north as Bel Air, as far south as parts of Derby. So we've got a very wide demographic landscape. So what do we do to gauge what it is our students need, especially with such a diverse background? Well, again, LaTonya Kennedy in this needs assessment that she's helped put together, we've been able to gauge things like, again, what are the top three strengths of Dodge Literacy Magnet? What are the top 3 challenges and barriers to involvement, to engagement with this school, right? And we've pushed this hard, not only on guardians, families, whomever it is at home, but also our staff. So we've gotten a very wide and very large collective of feedback of what it is we can do, both on the in-school side as well as the out-of-school side, and what it is parents are looking for at home. And some of those things that we see align with our school so well. We see parents wanting at-home, reading and literacy material. We see them wanting financial literacy courses. We see them wanting, behavioral literacy, if you will, when it comes to some of the socio-emotional challenges that some of their kids face. And so this allows us to prioritize, and on a school by school basis, not just for us at Dodge, but for Eric and Principal Hart, it allows all of us at our community schools to cater what it is we're doing, boots on the ground frontline, to what it is our parents specifically want and specifically need at home to continue education outside of the school, which is awesome. So some of the things that we've seen at Dodge, for instance, our top 3 strengths of our school community are fabulous and dedicated teachers. And now, again, I mentioned previously, while we've pushed this on both families and teachers, a lot of this response, especially to the point of our dedicated teachers, is not just overinflation by those teachers being biased upon themselves. It is our families. It is the guardians, the parents, the grandparents, whomever it is at home, foster parents, that are so in tune with their students, teachers, and what's going on in their classrooms and how it is they're performing in school, that they're able to gauge and feel confident engaging in this statement, in this dedicated teacher statement. We've got the safety and security. We've got the academic instruction. And again, this just goes to show the performance on our teacher side and how it is we can not only piggyback on these successes, but also work on the weaknesses. So again, to the point of the weaknesses, what are the top 3 challenges or barriers that our families face? Well, transportation, childcare, and healthcare. And I think that Eric and Principal Hart would probably agree, given what our community schools truly represent from a demographic and a neighboring standpoint. So this allows us to go out to build on the partnerships with Credit Union of America, to build on the partnerships with some of our local organizations, the VFW that we've got around the corner from us, the police and fire substations. I've been forming a relationship with the Hudson Valley Swim Club, who, may be kind of one of those mind bogglers. What can we do with the swim club? Well, we're trying to open opportunities and open doors for families to get kids into extracurricular things and extracurricular activities at more affordable prices. We're trying to figure out how both sides can benefit from these partnerships, of course. So it's great. It's allowing us to truly build the community, build the hub. I've been speaking with Eric and Chris of both Future Ready Center and Construction Pathway, and we are working on hopefully trying to build a partnership to replace and sort of refurbish both our school food drop box and school book drop box. So these are just some of the partnerships, some of the outcomes that we're working towards, that we're hoping for. And I'll get into the measurements just briefly. So how do we gauge this? How do we measure these? Well, that's an event by event thing. So if we're hosting a financial literacy class for our parents, for our students for that matter, our gauge is going to be signups. Okay. How many people do we have attend based on and how hard are we pushing this event? How many people are we reaching for that matter? If it's something, if it's something like, our Hudson Valley Swim Club, what is the turnout for that? If we're teaching water safety going into spring and summer, how does that carry over? How do students, and how can we gauge those students and their safety around these opportunities? Drowning deaths are still, I was told in my meeting with the Hudson Valley Swim instructor, that drowning deaths are still the #1 cause amongst kids under 18. So as far as accidental death circuits are concerned, so how can we combat this? How can we make things safer? How can we educate to improve the lives, improve the safety of everyone involved in the community? And so that's kind of what we're working towards. And it is so exciting. It's so much fun. They say you find a job you love, you never really work a day in your life. And I get to go home every day to my 5 kids and tell them how great my day was, tell them how much fun I had, tell them about all the good things that we're doing. And it brings the biggest smile to my face. And even with a newborn, makes it no problem whatsoever getting up the next day, motivated and amped up to go in and do it all over again. So I love this program. I'm loving what we're trying to do, and to the moon, really, truly. This is awesome. So thank you for having us here. Thank you for allowing us to come and share some of our progress in this, and we can't wait to come back.
Awesome. Don't leave because I'm going to have them, if you have questions, then by all means, we want to entertain those. But as you can see, that through strategic partnerships with families, local organizations, and service providers, this pilot, this strategy actually is able to help us integrate academic, social, and health supports to create that welcoming resource and that welcoming environment that will get us to our school goals of student achievement. So at this time, if you have any questions, we would like to entertain those if you have questions of them or myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll
Go ahead, Kelly.
I want to summarize by thanking all of you for being here tonight. Great presentation. I think for those of you that are going to be here all night with us, the theme of tonight is community. You'll hear it all throughout, and that we don't want to exist alone, independent of our community, but we can't be successful without working together with the community. I want to thank all the leadership, the board members and UTW members and district leaders who work together. I don't know that we usually scale things in 6 months like this, right? I mean, seriously, in K-12 education, this is not what we usually do. But we were committed to it. We believed in it. The board believed in it. And so it's exciting. If we want to continue, we'll continue to need to have a resource conversation. But I think the pilot, we're showing a definite proof of concept is what I'm seeing tonight. And one other last thing to reiterate, I think this is part of what for community schools is so important, that if you think of our mission in terms of bullseye, right? In the center of the bullseye is really teaching kids to learn, right? Teaching kids to learn to read, learn math. That's the core of what we do. Then there's a ring outside of that is things that we can help our families with in order to do that core, which is a lot of the work we're doing. And then there's another ring that's really mostly about communication, that we're communicating with our community about things. They're not our core mission, but they're critically important to our families. I heard you talk about transportation, healthcare, and childcare, and those all exist in different parts of that ring. We can't teach an empty chair. We need kids in the seat in order to teach them to read. That's our core mission, but these other rings are vitally important. And it's exciting to see the alignment with the Wichita Public Schools Foundation and community schools and Love Schools and Collective Impact, and really all of these ideas that are wrapping around more than just the student, but really the community, in order to complete our core mission, which is producing kids that are future ready. So great job. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Knock.
This warms my heart. It fuels my soul. It has perhaps been the best presentation I have listened to as a board member. My question for you all, what advice would you have for our school board? What advice would you have for our district leadership on how we can best support the community schools model in USD 259?
I think for me, it's being in our buildings and seeing the work that our teachers are doing and the children that we're serving. Because when you are in the building and boots on the ground, you see the needs. They're right there staring you in the face. So being present, I know Ms. Bond has been to my building, superintendent has been to my building. I welcome anyone to come to Dodge Literacy Magnet to see the work that's being done. We have mental health agency already working within our building, providing wraparound support for students. So this is just an opportunity for us to broaden that support for our families, and to make those connections that sometimes they lack the opportunity. So for me, as a leader in a building, it would be awesome to have you come and just visit and interact with kids. But then I think also being available to come to site council meetings, PTO meetings, grade level team meetings, professional development, so that you can hear the conversations that are happening around instruction and learning and supporting of students so that they can all be successful.
I think Principal Wilkes is spot on with what she said. In fact, all of us community school coordinators, we had a PD day with Mrs. Kennedy. And one of the things that we spent quite a bit of time on with the scholastic representatives was a model of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when I saw that today, it took me back to my instructing days at Wichita State. And that was something that for incoming freshmen and especially first generation students, first generation college students, we really worked on from a confidence standpoint, from a presentation standpoint. I primarily did public speaking and communications courses when I was instructing there. And so to see that in our PD day today, it got my head spinning, and I almost exploded with excitement, waiting for a time to interject, to just add my 2 cents of really understanding at all levels of school and education from the ground up, that hierarchy of needs and how from physiological needs all the way up to self-actualization. For one, it's a two-way street. And for two, every single thing that we do and that everyone in school does plays into that hierarchy of needs. And like Principal Wilkes said, for students, especially at the schools that we're at, our community schools, it's huge to see your guys' faces for them, for you guys to become familiar, safe faces and people to them. That's something that I know Eric and I from our conversations, and I'm sure the rest of our community school coordinators have found is our big first task as we're really getting into this program, is being that safe person to students and kids who don't have many safe people in their life, and being that consistently. So like Principal Wilkes said, we invite you certainly into Dodge whenever, wherever. I would love to see you guys in there, be able to catch up, be able to update you guys all on, kind of where things are at that time. But that's kind of what I present and what I challenge you guys to do.
I would agree with everything that you've heard so far, but Knock, you said that this filled your heart, and this was just words. So come experience, come connect, come be part of what we have going on in our buildings, because that's really where the magic is. And it's not coming in to just be a board member that's in our building, to be our superintendent that's in our building. It's to be a new face to our kids, a new trusted adult. It's to be somebody who's going to come read a book, somebody who's going to come on the monkey bars with them. So make sure you wear your tennis shoes. Make sure you dress comfy, because they want people that are real. They don't want us in suits and ties just supervising from the back. They want us to be involved. They want us.
Yes.
I better say something here. A different part, maybe just to challenge you on, and I really appreciate that question. That's a great question. Is sometimes you got to think outside the box, right? And I think this is part of that, but thinking outside of what normally might happen. And just from my few months on the job experience, I've have seen happen twice to me, is talking to different organizations, nonprofits that just said, hey, we're just waiting for somebody to ask us to be involved and be a part of it, right? And so that to me is, I think there's the community that's out there that wants to be a part of what's going on. They're just wanting somebody to invite them.
Right.
So
Very good. Kudos.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Very good. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you guys very much. Excellent presentation, and I'm sure we will all be out into your buildings soon.
With blue jeans on.
So thank you, LaTanya. Please keep us updated.
Yes.
LaTona, next item.
Fall screener data presentation.
All right, we're going to welcome Justin Castleman, Amanda Scherschel, to give us an update on our fall data.
LaTona, are you in charge of getting us set up now, or do I have to touch things? I don't know how we follow that. That was really moving testimonial.
thanks, guys.
Success. All right. Good evening. Sorry for the pause there. Mr. Castle and I are here to provide you with what's become an annual fall report on how our students are doing with their screeners for early literacy and mathematics. As you can see, our goals have not changed. We are still working in our strategic plan on decreasing the number of students who are at risk in 3rd grade on A reading and in 8th grade on A math. So we're going to kind of go back and forth here and paint a picture of how our students are doing. If you remember last year, we pivoted when the state assessment was getting ready to change to A reading as what we were measuring for comprehension. And so you can see that there are 2 falls worth of data to share with you. This was not a test we were giving to every grade level prior to that. So we don't have historical data like we do on some of our others. So in this case, green and negative is a good thing. It shows that 4th and 5th grade and 3rd grade have all decreased the percentage of students who in the fall were testing at risk on 3rd grade A reading. Just a reminder, this is an adaptive test and it measures a very broad range of skills from language to foundational skills to informational reading skills and narrative.
This year, we're looking at our A reading data across all 3 grade levels. And the data you see shows a percentage of students who are either at or above benchmark. And if you look at the fall 25 on the right, you can see that all 3 grade levels are a little bit higher than where they were this time last fall. And we're real proud of that. We use this information to evaluate the effectiveness of our core instruction and the impact of our intervention supports. And by analyzing these results, we can identify our strengths, our gaps, and any areas where we need targeted supports to improve reading achievement.
Thank you. So we've also historically shown you some of the early literacy screener data that's not part of our strategic plan, just as kind of a holistic view, including things like letter name and letter sound for our kindergarten students, CBMR, which is oral reading fluency. And you'll see there across, we really measure fall to fall to fall for a number of reasons. We want to know if our programs are working, if our training is helping, if our school improvement efforts are effective. But then as you see on the diagonal line there, we also want to measure a cohort of students and how they're progressing through grade levels. So if we follow the gray boxes there, you can see 2nd grade CBMR. So the number of kids or percentage of kids who are fluent in CBMR back in fall of 21, all the way up to fall of 24 when they were 5th graders went from 34.1 to 52.1%. You can see the overall percentage point change there on the far right. The red in the fall 25 column just means a change downwards from last year, fall 24, and the green just means a trend upwards from fall of 24. So we are transitioning to math now. And this is not something we have traditionally shared with the board at our fall progress checks, but because we do measure A math in 8th grade as our strategic interim goal for goal 1, we wanted to give you some context for how that's going in elementary as well. So that is an assessment we actually have been giving for multiple years in the fall, winter, and spring assessment windows. Just like A reading, it's an adaptive assessment that measures a really broad range of skills. Counting and cardinality, operations on algebraic thinking, you name it, it's in this assessment. So you see here 2nd through 5th grade across 5 falls. And you can see again, the percentage point change from fall of 21-22 to fall of 25-26, and all grade levels have improved minus 2nd grade, which is down 2.3 percentage points.
As you know, last year was our first year of intentionally focusing on middle school math, and this year we're going to continue that, but we're going to expand our analysis to all 3 grades in middle school. The data you see shows that all 3 of our grades have improved a little bit from last year in math as well. It shows the percentage of students who are at or above benchmark in the fall A math screener. And while the 8th grade remains our key focus for the strategic plan, we are going to work on strengthening math instruction at all 3 grade levels, and we'll continue to support that work.
So you always like to ask us what are some things that we're doing with the data that's in front of us. So we'll start with elementary next steps. And there's 3 bullet points up there, and you also have a handout. So this is the first year in the past couple of years that we can come to you and say most of our staff know and understand how reading develops and what they can do in their classrooms to help our students become more proficient readers due to letters. We pushed for 4 years through Volume 1 and Volume 2, and the state has actually made it a requirement that by 2028, certain educators, including all elementary, as well as elementary administrators and psychologists, special education, et cetera, add the seal of literacy to their license, indicating that they have the knowledge to apply and the appropriate necessary literacy skills and instructional practices. I just finished some numbers today to share with you. So we just sent 980 names to KSDE of teachers in our district, administrators, coaches, et cetera, who have earned their seal of literacy through letters. We also sent 62 early childhood teacher, pre-K teacher names to the state who earned their seal through easy letters. This is a huge accomplishment for these staff. This was not a small lift for them. And as you heard Savannah share earlier, challenges of teaching are real. And so to take the time to go through this type of robust professional learning is really important, and it's noteworthy for our teachers. So moving forward, we intend to intentionally apply what we've learned. First, every elementary building will have a robust but focused school improvement plan, which is the handout that you have in front of you. The school improvement plan is tied directly back to our strategic plan, and there are some building level practices that we just expect should be in place consistently at every single building. So that's towards the top of your handout and includes things like teachers planning using their proficiency scales, teachers teaching our word recognition routines daily with fidelity, teachers progress monitoring students, building administrators conducting observations and providing actionable feedback. And specifically, that last bullet talks a little bit about accreditation. So by the end of September, all of our buildings having cycles of professional collaboration around language comprehension, which is actually the second bullet of what we're doing. So we define professional collaboration as grade level time together to plan in a standards-driven way with best instructional practices. We've learned what letter says. Now we need to get to the application portion, and that includes making sure that we are using our proficiency scales to plan. Last but not least, it's different to measure comprehension than it is to measure word recognition. So the gains that we've seen in our early foundational skills have been large across 5 years because they're so individualized. Reading comprehension is much more complex of a skill for students to perform on an assessment. But one thing we can do is we can start to provide teachers with common assessments that are standards-based as check-ins or dipsticks, because there's no progress monitoring measure for A reading, and the state assessment data is a lag measure. By the time we get it, those kids are into the next grade level and they're getting the next test with the next grade level standards. So right now we're developing what we're calling common assessments through KITE, which is the system they take the actual state assessments on. We are in preliminary stages, so a small group of specialists, the district assessment coordinator, Scott Dellinger, and 6 elementary buildings are working on developing and administering these assessments this year to see if we can scale this to size in our district to provide more common assessments. So as early as next fall, we might be able to launch, if you will, these common assessments to all 3rd grade teachers across our district as a way to measure how's our instruction going, how are our cycles going, and how are school improvement plans going.
In math, our goal is to strengthen both our core instruction and our intervention programs. And we do that in core with the Envision math curriculum that we adopted last year in 2024. For intervention, we utilize the IXL math intervention, and that is designed to help kids with both on grade level skills and some remediation as well. And then we use progress monitoring with IXL growth checks and the AMath reports. For reading, it's a very similar program. We want to strengthen core reading through the use of the My Perspectives ELA curriculum that we adopted in 2018. And we'll also use the Language Live curriculum in our Tier 3 classes. And that is designed to help kids improve their accuracy, their fluency, and their comprehension skills And recently, several of you have visited Curtis Middle School with me and some people on our team, and you got to see Language Live happening. And what that was doing was that was helping our kids fill in some of their reading skills so they can access on grade level text in their core classes. And again, we will progress monitor them with the CBMR and the A reading reports.
So we know that another critical component of school improvement and better outcomes for kids is providing teachers with high quality instructional materials. So when we talk about that, we talk about adoptions. Here's kind of where we have been. So for elementary, we adopted a new core math curriculum. This year was the first year of full implementation at all buildings. And like anything that we do that's new, there are some things that we're working through, the amount of prep time and just getting to know a new curriculum. Everyday Math is a game-based spiraling curriculum that we actually have used in this district before, but it was 9 to 10 years ago. So if you think about how many staff we hire each year, we've got some people who are like, yeah, I remember this, and some who have no idea, and we're going to help them through that. We are currently working with our ELA work group and steering committee to adopt a language arts component for core ELA, K through 5. That would not include pre-K. Right now, we've narrowed from 8 to 4, and we're getting ready to narrow from 4 to 2. We've invited 8 buildings to pilot. That implementation would not start until 27-28.
So for math, we adopted the Envision curriculum from Savas last year. We've been using the My Perspectives curriculum by Savas since 2008, and we're looking to continue that with their updated version in 26-27.
So with that, that's our update, and we welcome any questions you might have for us.
Amanda, I just wanted to share a couple things. Are you running the slides, or is Latona?
Yes.
Okay. If you would go back to the slide, the big one with the fall screener data for K5, go back to that one. And I think, again, like I said, tonight's about community, but I just wanted to point this out, lift this up. How long have those kindergartners been in school with us before they got this screening test?
About 3 weeks.
Okay. So that data, right, those kindergarten kids that are coming to us with these scores, have those scores despite anything we've done. I mean, maybe some of these kids were in our pre-K classes, but not the majority. So when we talk about strong core instruction, this is part of the challenge, is that when kids are not kindergarten ready, it makes it even harder for that core to be built and strengthened, et cetera, which is why we work with Wichita Collective Impact on kindergarten readiness, which is why we invest in community schools, because we can't do this alone. And Savannah who spoke, right, she was right on. It's this tension between, this is what my kids need. They don't know how to use a water fountain, so I need to teach them how to use a water fountain, but our job is to teach kids to read, so we need them learning letters and sounds and all of these things. So, and there's just not enough time in the day sometimes to get it all in. So this is the challenge, right? And why it can't be a solution. The solution can't live from 9 to 4. The solution has to live outside of that with families and with community and with churches and youth groups and sports clubs and all of those sorts of things. So I think I was glad we lifted that up. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too, and you can speak way more intelligently about this than I can, but part of the challenge of comprehension is students have to have prior knowledge about the world in order for them to understand the text that they're reading. Even if they can sound out a word, if they know what the word is, but they don't know what that word means, they don't have any prior knowledge, it doesn't stick to anything. So I was really excited, especially at Stanley, to hear about the expanded learning opportunities. Kids going on field trips, going to museums, going camping, like going all sorts of things like that, expands their prior knowledge so that when they read about something, they can connect it to something they already know. Students, especially students who grow up in poverty or who have a certain cultural experience, don't have all of the prior knowledge that our curriculum always, our tests especially, always ask for. So to provide those extended learning opportunities, again, it isn't always possible to do from 9 to 4 on the 180 school days. So it needs to happen in the summer with the YMCA or in the evenings with a community group or something like that. So I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, but I just think that's one of our critical things, the vocabulary and the prior knowledge that our kids lack.
Yeah, I would echo that, and then I would add the challenge of language, first language into that as well. So if I have the background knowledge, great, but if it's not my first language, that adds a secondary barrier to really true reading proficiency. So it's two things that we are battling. But you're spot on with, if they have no experience, it's really hard to really understand the text, even if they can read.
Okay, I will start off asking some questions then. First off, we have a few acronyms on here. So can you please explain what CBMR means for the audience?
Yeah, CBMR is a curriculum-based reading measure. It's basically an oral reading fluency assessment. So how many words can kids read accurately in 1 minute? They read 3 passages and they take the median score.
So for staying targeted on, if we're talking about reading intervention, because that's kind of the basis for all of our educational outcomes, right? Can you please explain our targeted supports, especially at the elementary level, for increasing reading?
Yeah, so our plan is to strengthen both core and intervention. In our district, we work with MTSS, multi-teacher support, and we use data to basically place kids in groups where they need to refreshen their skills or close gaps. This could look like a student who is very inaccurate being in really great reading, which is a tier 3 reading intervention with a highly skilled teacher in a smaller group setting every day, trying to fill those gaps, to a student who's accurate but just needs to be a little faster. They might be placed in a tier 2 support group using a curriculum like Quick Reads. It's on our protocol, all the way up to tier 1 students who are accurate and fluent and just need to stay that way. Does that answer your question?
Okay. And then can you explain, we invested in letters training for professional development, and can you please explain how long that process takes for our staff members to get that seal of literacy on their certification?
So the official letters is supposed to be done in 2 years across 2 volumes of work, which is 80+ hours of online asynchronous learning, in addition to 8 full days of training. We slowed that roll, if you will, down based on feedback from our teachers. So it took us 4 years. We spent about 2 years trying to get everybody through volume 1 and another 2 years getting everybody through volume 2. So that's the length of time it's taken for us to do that.
Okay, very good. And then if we can go to the screener information that you were explaining, when are teachers providing this information?
Can you rephrase your question?
I'm concerned about, I hear from teachers a lot that we're asking them to do a lot, but we're not taking anything off of their plates. This is very important, but when are they doing this exactly? Is this in place of something else that they're currently doing?
The actual assessment, like administering the assessment?
Yeah, the screen for success measurement. It looks a little bit different than what we've been doing in the past.
I think
Or is that the same one?
Are you looking at the school improvement plan document? Okay,
That's
we're
right.
on that. I can picture it in my head, but it's not in front of me.
It just says goal number 1 for graduation. It's too small font for me to read, so.
Gotcha. So what's on that is the building level expectations, things that should be in place that we've been doing for years.
Okay.
So teaching our routines, planning with our scales, getting into classrooms, providing feedback if you're an administrator, planning great professional learning if you're a coach.
Okay.
Each grade level is already administering the screeners that we're measuring. So
Okay.
kindergarten teachers already assessing kids 3 times a year in letter sound and word seg, and those are the 2 things our school improvement plan is measuring, versus like a 5th grade teacher is already assessing CBMR and A reading, and that's what we're measuring. So we're not asking them to assess anything that we're not going to come back and check in on, or that they're not able to use our routines and materials to teach.
Okay, very good. I thought this was something new that we were doing in addition to something else. So sorry, I cannot read this font. So I had to guess a little bit. Okay, and if we can go back to the slide that Kelly addressed earlier, and we had a speaker address this as well. So when we have kindergartners come in, and I have heard this from every single kindergartner and pre-K teacher that I have met with, And some of these staff members have been in the district for decades. These are not new staff members. They have been they've been with the district for a very long time. And they are telling me that some of the students that they're getting in, many of the classrooms have number of students that are not potty trained. And so now we've got staff members that are teaching very basic skills that have not normally been done in that kind of classroom. They're explaining to me that some of these students don't know how to hold a pencil. They don't know how to do very, very basic things that were expectations years ago into the kindergarten classroom. And so these are real challenges that the district is facing. Oftentimes I say we're not getting them at a zero, like they're not ready to go. They're at already a deficit. And to try to it takes a lot of work to get those students just where they should be. And so it's disappointing to see the red numbers on a chart, but I would challenge everybody to come into our buildings. I think our community schools staff members address this to get in and to see the challenges that we're facing. These are not excuses, but I'm constantly talking with staff members that are painting very vivid pictures, and I'm seeing it myself in classrooms where they're very real challenges that our staff members are dealing with day in and day out to the best of their ability. And that's oftentimes before they can get to letters, names, and sounds. And like I said, that is not an excuse, but at the same point in time, it is reality that we are facing. So the more we can get the community in and also to embrace our students outside of the school hours, the better our community will experience that. So with that, thank you guys very much. Are there any further questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation and look forward to the winter screeners. Okay, Latona, next item.
School facilities condition report.
All right, I will welcome Luke Newman to come up and give us a facilities condition report. There for a while, we were hanging out with Luke every board meeting. It seemed like it's been a minute, so welcome back. Also, Dr. Steve Noble's here as sidekick. I don't know how you describe yourself.
Definitely
sidekick. Okay.
You gonna come hang out with me?
Welcome, guys.
All right, I think we're ready to go. Well, good evening, President Albert, Superintendent Bielefeld, who seems to have slipped away, and members of the board. My name is Luke Newman, and I'm the Director of Facilities. And the purpose of tonight's presentation is to revisit some facilities-related data and share how we're continuing to extend the life of our facilities, and also to share some new metrics and dashboard tools that we've been developing, which we'll be reviewing with the board in greater depth next month, but at least tonight you'll get to see a little bit of a sneak peek. Okay, so facility condition index, I'd like to start by just revisiting the definition of facility condition index, which is FCI for short. As a reminder, the board I'm sure is very familiar with this term, but FCI is the industry standard measurement used to evaluate facility conditions, and it represents the ratio of total large-scale maintenance needs to the total replacement value of all building systems and components. So we've had a lot of time to think about the best way to present what FCI is in a basic sense, and came up with this analogy of the Pinto. You have the old Pinto on the left and the newer restored Pinto in the middle there. And really FCI represents the older Pinto is your large scale maintenance needs. And then that newer restored Pinto is the replacement value of your building systems. So as your Pinto ages more and it has more and more maintenance needs, that means your FCI score is essentially going to grow to where the cost of the maintenance about matches the cost of fully restoring that Pinto.
So at a certain point, the cost to fully restore the Pinto will be similar to the cost of a modern vehicle with all the bells and whistles, which is what you see in the Honda Accord on the far right there. So that's what FCI is essentially telling us. The closer the index score gets to 1, the more it makes sense to potentially replace with new. Okay, so it's hard to believe, but 2 years have gone by since my last update on facility on FCI data. Our average FCI score for all of our buildings has increased from 0.53 in 2023 to 0.62 today, which is due to another couple years gone by at a flat rate of funding. In terms of dollars, our large-scale maintenance backlog has grown from $1.2 billion 2 years ago to $1.4 billion today. And I want to take a moment to clarify what FCI truly means. Everything we track has a fixed lifespan. So roofs might have 25 to 30 years. A rooftop unit for HVAC system would have 10 to 15. And as time goes on, additional items reach the end of their life, which is why our FCI score has increased. So 2 years ago, we had a backlog of items that have reached the end of their anticipated life, and two more years have gone by since, and we have more roofs that have reached the end of their expected life, HVAC units, everything from A to Z in our buildings. And so that's what that means. That's why that FCI has gone up from 0.53 to 0.62. That doesn't mean the roof is gone or we don't have HVAC. It means that we're getting more life out of those systems than we should reasonably expect. As a result, we're dealing with more roofs that are leaking and HVAC systems that are breaking more frequently. And that's the experienced impact of higher FCI scores in our buildings. Okay, so getting into graphs a little bit. Starting at our current need of $1.4 billion, when looking out at our projected needs 5 years into the future, we anticipate our total large-scale maintenance needs growing to $2.4 billion by the year 2030, just 5 years out. This projection is based on an anticipated $20 million of investment per year going towards large-scale maintenance needs. In fiscal year 2026, we are fortunate to be able to put $37 million towards large-scale maintenance due to one-time funding from cash reserves. But as you can see from this graph, the funding we are able to put in, which is shown in blue, pales in comparison to the volume of need in our facilities, which is shown in red. So drilling down a little bit deeper, when we look at our large-scale maintenance needs, shown in red here, versus building system values in orange, we see that there is a larger gap between them currently, but as time goes on, these two values get closer to one another, and that's not a good thing. It means that as we get closer to the value of our large-scale maintenance needs equaling the total value of building systems we are tracking, it means that we are getting closer to the value of our large-scale maintenance needs equaling the value of building systems we are tracking. So in essence, once those two numbers become equal with one another, it basically means everything in our buildings needs replaced. So relating back to the car analogy, we could continue investing in the Pinto, which in some instances makes sense. Nothing against the Pinto. Some people really want a fully restored Pinto. But as these two values get closer to one another, the more prudent approach is really to rebuild rather than to repair. And it's for the reasons I have listed on this slide. With a newer facility, you're going to have spaces that better meet modern learning needs. You're going to have more flexible spaces, classrooms that are better set up to accommodate modern learning and teaching. You reduce your long-term maintenance needs. Reduce your critical failures by resetting the clock and building something new. And then this last point I think is a really important one too. You have more cohesive systems. So your whole building is constructed to accommodate all the systems that are in it, right? Rather than having an old facility that you're trying to retrofit with various odds and ends and make it work and update it. It's just not all cohesively built together to function as one building system. So regarding FCI Facility Condition Index and what this means, same thing, just projecting out 5 years. Our FCI is anticipated to reach 0.82 by 2030. In order to keep as an FYI, in order to keep our FCI at 0.62, we would need to invest an average of $127 million a year into large-scale building system needs, just to put things in perspective. So the longer it takes to make meaningful investments in our facilities, the more expensive it gets due to the compounding needs. And the more likely it becomes that we will have critical building system failures that lead to negative impacts in our learning environments for our students and staff. So we know that there's a significant need that exists, and we in facilities have been and will continue to work to diligently address the issues as they arise and to work proactively to manage our systems to prevent critical failures to every extent possible and gain efficiencies where we can. And I'd like to just give you a quick snapshot of some of those efforts. So for one, the facilities division fields 40,000 work orders a year from our buildings, and that's just under 500 per attendance center. Our in-house maintenance crews have also spent a total of 8,536 hours addressing emergency failures alone over that 3-year period, which equates to more than 4 full-time crew people just supporting emergencies. And it goes without saying that many of these issues are due to the age of our buildings. In terms of dollars, we spend about $15 million per year on maintenance issues, and that's simply just fixing what breaks. That doesn't do anything to improve our FCI scores or make any headway on our backlog of large-scale maintenance needs. But we do spend about $10 to $11 million per year on average towards addressing reactive maintenance, those fixing what breaks. And then we spend $4 to $5 million per year on average towards addressing preventive maintenance efforts. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. $20 million on average in capital outlay is available for addressing large-scale maintenance or capital improvements, modernizations and adjustments that we need to make to our facilities. And then there are our recent one-time reactive investments that this board, again, is very aware of. North High, these are things that we're not anticipating, but North High structural remediation, that was $24 million to date, and there's more to come there. And then East High structural remediation, we've spent about $18 million to date, on that building. And we have more restoration efforts that we need to make on that building as well, although not quite as substantial as North currently. In terms of our one-time proactive investments, we put $81 million of investments from COVID relief funds towards addressing HVAC systems, controls, and windows. We're very fortunate to have that. 18 million went towards addressing some school safety, which this board again approved, adding office restricted access, door locks, elevators, and things. And then we're also hoping to, we were granted a $15 million grant from the Department of Energy, and we have a $5 million match on that. We are still hoping, we're waiting for that to come through, but we are optimistic, and that's going to give us more opportunity to do much of the same kind of stuff with HVAC, controls, upgrades, chillers, and such. Okay, so I just wanted to share this graph to demonstrate the importance of preventive maintenance and how we've increased our efforts there and the dividends it's paid. It's simple. The blue line shows our preventive maintenance efforts over the last 3 years and how we've increased our efforts there with just, it's simple things like getting into our HVAC units, lubricating things, changing out belts, getting out with our water jet and jetting out sewage lines to prevent stop-ups. And really all of our shops do some level of preventive maintenance. And it's really benefited our buildings, because in that what's shown in orange there is that as we've ramped up our preventive maintenance efforts, our reactive maintenance has dipped. So it hasn't it hasn't really dropped, but it hasn't gone up. It's actually below what it was. This is our volume of reactive maintenance is less than it was 3 years ago. So what we're doing is working, and we continue to extend the life of our buildings. And this is really our mission in facilities, to minimize system failures in our schools, because the more time educators have to focus on educating, and less time focusing on facilities issues, the more time they're able to focus on educating. And that's really what we're all about and why we exist. Okay, so just touching on some more organizational efficiencies gained. I won't go through this whole list, but do just want to share some key bullet points. TRIRIGA, these are just things that we've done over the years to really improve our offerings and gain efficiencies and add value. And so TRIRIGA system conversion, that was something we embarked on, six years ago, something like that. And it's been huge for us. It's really helped us provide a much more customer service focused approach. We have way more ability to track data and make sure that we're meeting certain performance metrics. And so that's been a lot of the data that we have to share tonight, and what we'll be sharing in the future, especially next month. A lot of that data would not be available had we not made that conversion to TRIRIGA. We also purchased an edge bander for our millings department, and we're saving about $75,000 per year in labor and materials with that purchase. And so it's basically paying for itself in year one. We have purchased custodial autonomous floor scrubber robots, which have helped us address staffing shortages and free up time to focus on critical aspects of cleaning and the buildings that have those. And then our energy savings program, mentioned that a little bit, but we continue to save hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in energy savings through advocacy and utility rate cases, hedging gas rates to lock in lower prices, HVAC controls, data analytics, a whole bunch of weedy stuff that you probably don't want to hear about, but I love. Okay, just a couple more slides. Want to talk a little bit about our this new measurement that we'll be rolling out with our presentation next month, and it's the Learning Environment Index. And this really came about because we really came to realize that the FCI, Facility Condition Index, gives a lot of great information regarding nuts and bolts of our facilities, but it doesn't really capture the experiential elements of our buildings and what people kind of see and feel and touch when they're in there, the more the intangibles. And so we worked with DLR Group, who's done a lot of these across the country for other school districts. They have a whole scoring criteria that they've developed, and so we went through that with them. There's probably about 50 line items or more, and I was going to print one up and give it all to you, but the font was too small, so I decided I'll just email it to you so you can look at it. But yeah, so this is this will be something you hear more about next month. But essentially, we're looking at we spent all summer, went through all of our facilities, gathered all the data, completed all the assessments, had the forms done, and all that, and it evaluated things like site size, classroom size, storage, outdoor spaces, play areas, the safety, building safety, the lines of sight, signage, air quality in your buildings. Are you getting enough daylight? ADA accessibility, pickup drop-off areas. I mean, you can read it all there, but there's a lot there that's captured, and so it's kind of that secondary piece to how we look at and evaluate our facilities. Okay, now here's the big reveal. So yeah, this is the sneak peek at what we'll be diving in deeper within next month. Very excited about this dashboard tool we're developing. I won't let the cat out of the bag too much on what we're all going to include here because we still have some final polishing up to do. But essentially, the board will have the ability to look at get a general overview of our district facilities. We want people to be able to really see where our maintenance is going. So that's what those bubbles are all kind of showing, is you'll be able to see across the city where kind of our highest volume of maintenance is going, what our highest volume of maintenance efforts are going. And then you'll have the ability to click on the bubbles and go into the actual school data itself. So really drill down into the specifics of each school, where we're going to have the facility condition index, the learning environment index, and then a list of large-scale maintenance needs that we're projecting, in addition to some previous historic large-scale projects that we've completed. So yeah, really excited to present on that next month, and look forward to that. So I just want to finish up with some key takeaways, and then we can open it up for some questions. But the facilities team just continues to work diligently to find ways to extend our building life for all of our schools, and yeah, just lots of proactive management on that front. The Learning Environment Index is a new measurement for us that will complement the Facility Condition Index that you'll be learning about more next month, but very excited about what that brings to the table. And then lastly, just that we have this new dashboard we've been building that you'll be seeing again next month. And yeah, look forward to that. So with that, I will open it up for questions. Mr. Noble or Dr. Noble, do you have anything to add?
Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll stand for questions. Thank you.
I just have a couple things I want to lift up. Great job. I think this is very clear. Luke, since I've been superintendent, it's been coming. This is year 3. Are the needs going away?
No, sir.
Okay, so the needs are not going away, and I think that's important that we have decisions to make because the needs aren't going away. The car example is a really good one. I'm going to equate it because the square footage, I think, is apples to apples with a homeowner. So I'm going to equate it to that a little bit. So let's say we spend that top end every year, that $5 million on preventative maintenance. We have about 10 million square feet in the district. So that's about 50 cents per square foot. Addie, check my math. I think that's right. Okay. So if you own a home and you have a 2,000 square foot home, and you spend 50 cents a square foot on maintenance every year, that's $1,000 a year. When you think of replacing your furnace filters, cleaning your gutters, sealing your deck, cleaning your sewer line, hopefully you don't have to do that every year, but I've lived in homes that we had to do that every year. Servicing the AC, trimming your trees, you can get to $1,000 pretty easily as a homeowner. So one question I have, and kind of teeing you up here, but so why not spend more, right? Is $5 million enough for preventative maintenance, or if we had more, would we do more with that money?
Yeah, you teed it up well. We would need, yeah, if we had more, we would absolutely use it. It's doing what we can with what we have.
Right. And so that chart that you showed with the two lines on it could even be more stark, right? If we had more resources for that.
Yep.
And the other thing I think that's important to know that, and this is confusing as a constituent, so I understand why patrons are confused about this. The philosophy in the past 2 bond issues for some of our buildings has been to take the existing aged building and then add on to it. So in the Pinto example, right? If you have a car, it's from the 1970s, and then you add on a new engine or something to it, the rest of the car is still from the 1970s. And so we see as a community, we've made investments over the past few years, and we have millions of dollars, hundreds of $millions of investments in our buildings. But that doesn't mean that large parts of our buildings aren't still 80 years old. And I think the 2 schools that we're here tonight talking are great examples of Dodge, which is rebuilt, not brand new by any means anymore, probably about 15, 17 years old, with aging systems, but a completely different learning environment than Stanley. And Stanley has new parts to it, right? Stanley has a new preschool, kindergarten area. It has a new storm shelter, but most of Stanley is from the 1960s, and it is not ADA accessible, and it has 2 floors with no elevator, and then you go back to your learning environment, critical components of outside space and playgrounds and all of those sorts of things. So I'm really excited. We're looking at this as holistically as we can. We obviously can't do everything all at once, but to put it all out there so that we know exactly what it is we're talking about, I think is really critical. So I'm excited. In November is when, at the next board meeting, we'll have you guys come back and show a little bit more of the dashboard and dig into it. So that's all I had. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I raised my hand.
Oh, it doesn't show up on my computer.
Oh.
Okay, well, Julie?
Okay.
I'm showing myself
Go
and Julie.
back one slide.
Okay, now I got it.
I'm sure you're going to get into this, so this is maybe too much detail for this meeting. But on the first graphic, oh, yeah. On the first graphic, what are the bubbles? What's the difference between a green bubble and a red bubble?
Yeah, I'll get into that, but we wanted to be able to represent the difference between, so the red bubble is everything that's going to be older than 50 years old, and then the green is going to be anything newer than 50 years, so that we can see the difference between what it takes to maintain the older facilities versus the newer ones.
And as far as the illustration that Superintendent Bielefeld gave of buildings that a large portion of it is old with maybe a new addition, are you going to average the two dates for that number, or how does that work relative to your green and
I'll
red
make sure
bubbles?
I have an answer to that question next
Okay.
month. I don't know that I have a great answer for that currently. I have to look at that.
I think it's a great point, though, because when we have patrons come in, they will say, well, blank is true. Well, that is true, but another thing could also be true at the same time. So
I
great
believe
question.
the way we set it up was the original building was the date. We had to come up with, we had to
Sure.
have a cutoff somewhere, so.
Sure. Well, and, we had our community schools people talk about how important it is to come out and see the learning environments for kids and kids in their schools. And I totally support that. And, that is the priority in our district. But when you're getting into facility needs, you don't experience the old versus the new. You don't realize that exists in our district unless you're actually out there physically in the building. So, I mean, it's just, that is a learning experience for our community, just as much as experiencing the needs of our kids in their educational process is experienced by going to see them, but also experiencing the needs of our facilities and our environments that we learn in, we experience being there.
I might add, I think that's a great point that you bring up. And one of the approaches, it's baseball playoff season, so I'll try to be as anecdotal and awesome as Kelly is. I'll probably fail miserably, but baseball playoff season is happening right now. There's two mindsets. Baseball's changed significantly since Moneyball. Analytics, it went to analytics. It used to be scouts watching players play, getting a feel for the player. And we track it now with science and data and math and formulas. And there's people that will argue both are necessary. So we have data pieces that we're diving into deeply with the dashboards. But we're also embarking on a 90 buildings in 90 days tour. I'm a part of one of 3 groups that go around. And in that environment, Julie, to your point, is we're in those spaces listening to those people tell us their stories. Some of it might fit this. Some of it might be something that doesn't quite explain this, but they have their own stories to tell. And that's very important to bring that piece back to the board as well, along with the analytical data. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Stan?
Quick question, trying to put this in layman's term, just in case anyone's interested in watching this. The Learning Environmental Index, is it safe to say, or is it fair to say that it's kind of the internal curb appeal, and then the outside stuff is the outdoor curb appeal type of thing? Meaning, if I was a parent and was looking at these dots on your dashboard, I'm assuming that I could probably click on the school that I'm thinking about sending my child to, and then it's going to give me a score of both how serious the maintenance situation is at that school, and then that's obviously you don't want it to get to 1. The higher that portion is on the facility condition index, the worse condition that building's in. And then on the learning environmental index, do you want that number to be lower, or do you also?
The way we set up the measurements was so that they would both, you don't want them to be high.
Okay.
So the
Right.
idea is,
that's what
they're both lower, it's better. And what you're going to find is generally one follows suit to the other, right? There might be a few anomalies here and there, but for the most part, when your FCI is higher, your learning environment is also going to be the same way. And that's because, a lot of our older buildings were not configured with the modern learning spaces, that we have now, and classrooms were smaller and things like that. And so I would say the answer to your first question is yes and no. I think it's more of the functionality of our buildings is really kind of what the learning environment is trying to capture. It doesn't mean the buildings don't work well to teach kids in, right? We're doing that. We're doing a great job at that everywhere, but it just means that it's not as ideally suited as some of our more modern facilities are to, take care of kids appropriately. It's kind of like Kelly was talking about earlier, where we have these older buildings that we've added newer to, and we've done it out of necessity, but it's created some functionality issues, right? To where, there was space to add something here, so we added it there, but it wasn't necessarily ideal for, if you look at, modern, safety procedures and things like that. It didn't give you the right lines of sight and such, but there weren't really as much considerations back then when we built as they are now. And so,
Well, an example of that is drop off and pickup lanes. Years ago, that was not that important because you had kids that walked to school, and if they were over a certain mileage, they were bused to school. And now I live less than 5 houses away from a school, and now you do not see anyone walking to school. And it's the changing times. So pickup drop-off lines are extremely important to parents now. But my point is, so once we get this dashboard up and going, and I want to compare, especially if I'm looking at a choices fair where I'm looking at different magnets for my child, I could compare 2 schools, 3 schools, and says, maybe the condition of the school is really good, but maybe the learning environment index isn't the greatest. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be looking for, these areas where both the condition of the school is in good shape and the learning environment is in good shape.
Yeah, you could. I think the intent of the dashboard is really to just be transparent about the data and what our needs are. It's not necessarily for parents to compare and contrast different buildings and
But they
decide
will.
where they want to send their kids, but they might. But it's really just to be transparent about to be real about what our needs are.
And I'm completely supportive of that. That's a wonderful idea. I just want us to be prepared for those type of comparisons that we might get from parents, and really looking forward to this dashboard get up and going so people can actually take a look at it, because we can talk about HVAC systems all we want and boilers but until you actually can click on a school and say, oh, I see, they've got a lot of, and then the categories of you could see where the upgrades really needed or where it's not so needed. And that will help parents make good choices.
Okay, thank you, Stan. Knock?
Yeah, not only are the facilities and infrastructure needs of our schools not going away, they are exacerbating. And based on this presentation, I think it paints a very clear picture that we need more proactive, more targeted, more adequate investments in our school buildings. The question I had pertains to the Learning Environment Index. I was curious if certain factors have like more weighting than other factors, and if so, I'm curious what those main factors are that determines the Learning Environment Index of a school.
Great question. It does actually, and I will share that weighting with you when I present next month.
All right. And then I guess the other question, so you guys right now are doing the 90 schools in 90 days tour on facilities needs, listening to the perspectives of staff. Will that report be a presentation to the Board of Education, or how will the findings be displayed?
Yeah, and that's part of what I think we got you guys the schedule. So if you want to come visit any of them, it's pretty much the same, a little bit different depending on the status of the school, whether it's a rebuild or one of the schools that are scheduled to close, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of it, we give the staff the takeaways. Here's the next steps of what we're doing. And once we get it all compiled, we will put it together, then get it back to the staff and say, here's what we heard from you. I think we should have that done either before Christmas or right after Christmas, somewhere in that time frame, and then provide it to you all. There's a lot of it that I think, I don't know that any of it so far for me has been surprising, and that it's things we didn't know, but I do think it's at the prioritization of what the staff members feel like this is, whether it's lighting or windows or air quality. Kind of, to Stan's point about picking a school for my student, that's one of the things we hear about, poor air quality in some of our schools. If I have a school with good air quality or with poor air quality, where do I want to send my own kid? It's one with better air quality. And that's just one factor of, dozens of different things. So we'll put all that together. I don't know that we have envisioned exactly what the report looks like, but we'll put all that together and provide that. We are also part of that process. Some of the things that we're hearing, I don't know if Steve, you want to speak to this, but some of the things we're hearing, we're able to act on, not immediately, but right away. So if we hear there's an issue with a blank, I don't know if you have some examples of that, but I know that's one of the other things that's going on. If there's something that we can fix quickly, we are.
Sure. Yeah. Quick hitters or low hanging fruit that we're hearing that we can get somebody in there within 5 to 7 days to address a need that we think can really be addressed. And Luke's very much a part of that. Each team that goes out identifies those quick things that we can get back to and address quickly. And so we're tracking that and we're getting people out at ASAP. Some of those might mean locker cubby things. There's more kids in a classroom than we're anticipated. That's one that comes to my mind. Another one are some radios for some security folks that came to mind. And Terry and I have visited about that already. So yes, there are things we are addressing immediately. And then we're asking staff to sort of think intermediately, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years. And then really, what should this building look and feel like 10, 15, 20 years from now? What is education going to require of us in a space like that? So we're also doing future sort of exercises with them.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Seeing no further questions from the board, thank you guys very much for your presentation. And I always am a fan of dashboards, so I am very much looking forward to next month's presentation on that dashboard. So thank you guys. Latona, next item.
Community engagement survey results.
All right, we'll invite Rachel forward. to go over our community engagement survey that was given a few months ago.
I might need to phone a friend. Okay.
Up and running.
For your patience. Good evening, board members. My name is Rachel Bell. I'm the Chief Communication Officer for the district. And I am pleased to present tonight the Community Engagement Survey results. I am going to, there's a little bit of a lag. That's nice to know. Tonight, I'm going to be talking really about 4 things with the Community Engagement Survey. One is why we did it. The second is a little bit about the survey itself, what we learned, and then, of course, what we're going to do with the information that we learned. When we think about the people that we want to communicate with, we think about them in 3 main groups. We have our parents, we have our staff, and we have our community. We know, of course, where our staff are. We see them every day. For the most part, we know where our parents and our families are and how to get a hold of them. But it is the other group, it's the group that I just highlighted in yellow, the community, that we don't always know how to talk to, where we can find them, how they're going to pay attention to our messages. The other piece of the puzzle was not just how do we get a hold of our community, but also how they are different from our students. And so the slide that you're seeing right now shows our student demographics. And when we look at what that looks like compared to our city demographics, that is, there's a large gap there. And so making sure that we can bridge that so that everybody has understanding of what our students look like versus what the community looks like and other supports that students might need. This is a critical piece of information. Similarly, then we have 80% of our students are experiencing some sort of poverty, which is in direct, almost converse with the city of Wichita, where 84% are living above the poverty line. And again, this is just to help understand why we did the survey, why we felt like it was necessary to understand more about the community and what they're expecting of us. When we look at our students, we know that 36% of WPS students speak a language other than English in the home, and that is from last year's enrollment data when they selected languages spoken in the home. And that's compared to the 18% that speak a different language in Wichita. One of the important things to remember about this data, though, is that Wichita is slightly different. It's broader than our district boundaries. So there is a little bit of difference there, and that is just something to keep in mind as you're looking at this data. So we opened the survey for the entire month of June. We had 1,800 responses. 95% took it in English, 5% took it in Spanish. With 1,800 responses, there is about a 2.3% margin of error. So that means anytime there are percentages in the results, it could swing 2.3% on either side of that. So that is something also to keep in mind. So when we looked at the survey results, we took a look to see who fell into what group. Are they in the staff bucket? Are they in the parents or the community, or a combination of the three? And so then we also looked at one of the kind of defining questions was, how long has it been since you've been in one of our buildings? And so we looked at their responses in kind of those two main groups. We learned that there are similar awareness if you are a parent, if you are a community member or a staff member of some of the activities that we have going on in the district. However, the awareness is greater for those who've been in our buildings for more than in the past 2 years. And so this kind of aligns with one of our strategies, which is to try to get more people into our buildings. We all know, I think, that we learn in different ways. And if people can actually see what's going on in the schools, if they can experience it, they just have more awareness and can learn that experience firsthand. We asked respondents to grade us in two different ways. The first was our facilities. The second was overall. It was interesting. Those who took the survey in English gave us a C on our facilities. Those who took the survey in Spanish gave us an A. Now, as you saw, there was 5% who took the survey in Spanish, so that margin of error is larger. But it was overwhelming. I think we're at 55% Spanish respondents said that they gave us an A in facilities. Overall, in English, if they had not been in one of our schools in the last 5 years, they gave us a grade of a C. But if they had been in our school within the last 5 years, they gave us a grade of B. So again, if we are looking at a strategy of getting more people into our schools, which going with the community theme tonight and hearing some of the other things that the communities and schools or community school strategy does, this information certainly supports that as well. This was really also interesting. So now we have 2 grades of A's from our Spanish-speaking community, which tells me that we're doing a good job communicating with that group. We have a lot of trust built up, and we will continue to work in that area. When we asked whether the district does a good job communicating about important education issues, you can see that usually and sometimes we're both large answers. Never and always are a little harder, just because some people have a harder time with definites. I am never going to always do something correctly. But I would like to see the sometimes group shrink and the usually group grow. We also asked parents, staff, community members, we separated those out. Parents and guardians and staff said that they get their information usually from firsthand experience, or those who have had firsthand experience. So our staff and our parents are relying on students, teachers, volunteers for information. Whereas as expected, our community members are most likely relying on local media. We also asked what their preference was in how they want to get information from us. Overwhelming, the response was by email, which was a little surprising today just to hear. But second was text, and third was social media. Now, when we looked at our trust level in English, again, sometimes and mostly were very common answers, sometimes weighed out on these five topics, and then mostly was the second most popular response. However, in Spanish, we had a high level of trust again. Always was a common response. Mostly was the second response on all 5 of these, except for we had a sometimes. That's the 15% there is sometimes. From here, it looks red, but it's orange. Also, the last line, we did have a high percentage of our Spanish respondents who said that they didn't have enough information about the finances to answer that question. So we have some work to do there. One of the things that I was excited to see with these results is that it supported some of the work that we're already doing. We have heard some of the feedback that community does rely on local media. Superintendent Bielefeld has started a monthly press conference to try to get additional information out via the media. We also have advisory groups that are meeting pretty regularly, and we will continue to do those as well. I think those have helped in the trust category, so we'll continue to do that. The 4 bottom bullets are things that we will be taking on here within the next year. I do want to highlight the streamlining of our website. One of the things that I found very surprising is that we have about 25,000 web pages. So that's a lot of information for someone to wade through if they are trying to find something that they need. Additionally, we have some federal ADA requirements that we need to meet on the website, and that deadline is in April. So it's a good opportunity to really take a look at our website and say what pages do or don't we need here. But I wanted to highlight that for you in case you get questions about why things are moving on our website. Additionally, we are going to be doing some civic learning opportunities so that we can make sure that we engage the public in just a little bit different way and educate them on some of the behind the scenes things that might not come to mind necessarily when people are thinking about schools. We also want to create a community newsletter that goes out via email, since the community has told us that they would be receptive to hearing from us by email. And then we did have about 250 respondents on the survey who said, yes, I would like to be part of small group discussion. And so we'll be putting together some visioning sessions with those people to continue the conversation and see what we can figure out in terms of further steps.
Very good.
That is all I had this evening. What questions can I answer?
Okay. Any questions from the board? I don't see any on my screen.
I have some.
Okay, knock.
Real quick, what were the, in terms of communication preferences, what were all the options like listed out in the survey?
Yeah, we tried to keep reality as a focus. We did not put mail because of the expense. We had a couple that I think community bulletin boards, and there was another more what I would consider grassroots effort, and neither one of those rated highly.
And then I'm wondering how often, or if this is, like if the district plans on doing some more recurrent surveying of, the public, the community, again, just, get to check the pulse, how does the community feel about us? What are their thoughts about, trust and decision-making and things like that?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because I did forget to mention that I see this survey as an annual survey, because this helps us understand where we are right now, but we need to keep that touch point going so that we know where we are next year as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hazel?
Yes, on the facilities grade, can you explain what that entailed? What
Yeah, we just asked, thinking about Wichita Public Schools facilities as a whole, what grade would you give us? It was a pretty simple, pretty general question. There
Not-
wasn't a lot of instruction with it.
Not directed towards any buildings or.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. Can you explain a little bit more on the civic learning sessions? What are our thoughts there?
Yeah, we don't have a name for it yet. We've kicked around a few things, but one of the things that the city has done is some civic engagement where they will take people through some coursework to cover things like the different departments, finances, just in general. And so we've seen a lot of good engagement and feedback surrounding that program. And we envision something similar could work for us as well.
Okay, very good. Very good.
And I don't know if this is exactly what the principal at Stanley was talking about, but they mentioned the parent with the needs assessment, some of the parents wanting further opportunities. So I think what we're envisioning is maybe a base course of general information about the district, but then possible engagement opportunities beyond that too. But that's yet to come, probably spring of 26. We're still building that out.
Okay, very good. Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you, Rachel. We appreciate your presentation and appreciate the update. So
Thank you.
thank you. Latona, next item.
Consent.
Okay. So for the public's information, the purpose of the consent agenda is to help the board handle routine matters efficiently so that the board can spend more time reviewing, monitoring, and discussing the educational issues of the Wichita Public Schools. Students' academic success is the top priority for the Board of Education. Board members review these items in detail during the agenda review workshops held at 10:30 a.m. on the Fridays prior to each regular board meeting here at the AMAC building. These workshops are open to the public, but no action is taken. The workshop is for discussion and questions only, and your presence is always welcome. And so with that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Knock, seconded by Kathy. And before we vote, I'd like to give,
That's okay. Stan made this.
Motion made
Or
by
made by.
Stan.
you're gonna have to speak up, man.
That's why we went every other, so you could figure out. So
Kelly, go for it.
Sure. So Friday, when we had our consent agenda review with the board, we had two particular items that we wanted to come out, that we wanted to bring it forward at this time. So for those following along at home, are under C, 2, and 3, these are two facilities line items. One is called AMAC 905 office remodel, and one is AMAC 413 office remodel. So the reason we wanted to bring these up, these are not big dollar amounts when it comes to the general budget, but both of these items were completed out of order from a regular process. So instead of getting board approval and then going forward with the project went forward without board approval. So in an effort to be completely transparent with the public and with you all, we wanted to bring it forward to get your approval on these. Again, not large amounts, but we've put some checks in place that we covered Friday at the meeting, so we prevent this from happening again. The other one is item E2, which is under education curriculum, which is the graduation certification and risk assessment services. So this is essentially an audit of our graduation numbers from class of 25 and then moving forward. We had determined some internal processes to create systems for increased data quality when it comes to graduation rate. We feel strongly that those are good processes internally, but we wanted an external set of eyes to sign off on those processes to make sure that all the people involved in the data gathering and data quality assurances when it comes to graduation, the policies are firm and strong and in place. And then we also will conduct an audit of the actual numbers to make sure that we know that we need integrity and graduation rate or graduation. And when students earn a diploma, we don't give diplomas, they earn diplomas, that it means what it means. And so that agenda item was one we also had some good discussion about on Friday. So with that, any discussion from the board, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Hazel? Oh, nope. Okay.
Yeah.
My screen is not working awesome, so we'll have to do a. Okay, Julie,
Except I did raise
you
my
do have
hand.
one? Okay. 50-50 here.
Yeah, and I did just want to applaud Superintendent Bielefeld on moving forward with this graduation certification and risk assessment service. Just like you said, students earn their diplomas, and that's an achievement that we want to applaud. And it's important to this board to raise graduation rates. And so, we don't want any misinformation or any lack of trust relative to that achievement and those scores. So I applaud just being able to have this to communicate to the public and to be very transparent about the success of our students.
Thank you.
Very good. Knock.
Just wanted to say I support the items of the consent agenda regarding graduation, certification, and risk assessment services. Beyond that, I would also support a board policy that codifies language around internal and external auditing processes of our graduation records.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further discussion, we do have a new voting mechanism on our computers. And so we have a motion on the floor. And when you guys are ready, go ahead and vote.
I cast vote. I did. And I went back to vote.
Who's 5, Kathy? Okay. All right, everybody in? Okay. Motion passes 6-0.
Yay.
It worked.
It's exclamation points.
Very good. Okay, Latona, next item.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, Kelly.
All right, thank you, Diane. A few things. Just wanted to maybe tie a lot of this stuff together tonight. A lot of community conversation, a lot of desire for us to be embedded in the community and our community showing up for us with Wichita Collective Impact, with communities and schools, or community schools and love schools, all the different things that we're doing. I think this is a message I sent that I talked to principals about last week. But I think it's relevant here that I hope that we can see as a community and a district that we're all on the same team, right? I say it everywhere I go, that when our kids do better, we all do better. That our 3,000 graduates need to be productive citizens for our community, because if they're not, that's not good for any of us. And ultimately, we need to be on the same team, supporting one another when it comes to our kids. We are, like, all across the community. I talk about all the time the amount of community support we have. But I think the big takeaway I heard tonight beyond community was we need to be there, right? We need to be in the buildings, visible with our people, both seeing the leaky boiler and seeing the kid that is playing on the playground. Both of those things. It's vitally important to be there. So I would challenge all of us, me included, to invite a friend, right? Bring somebody with you to go see the facilities, to go see the kids. When this was one of my messages that I've given at the foundation stuff that I've spoken at, is that I believe anybody who gets to know our kids falls in love with our kids, and they're going to be a champion for our kids. The part of the community that they gave us the C and doesn't trust us as much are ones that haven't been in our buildings, right? They don't know us, and that's not their fault necessarily. It's partially our fault, because we need to let them get to know us, right? They need to get to know our kids. Our kids are worth it. Our kids are able. They just need the opportunities and those barriers taken away as best we can. And that isn't just ours to do. That's ours to do as a larger community. So it's invigorating and exciting tonight, I think, to see the amount of engagement we have with our community, to see alignment of systems, that it's not haphazard, right? That it's not jumbled, and it's not perfect yet by any means, but it's we're trying to align systems so that kids get what they need and families have what they need to help our kids achieve our goals. So the data will move when we all work together for our community. So it's exciting that hopefully we can see that we're all on the same team. We all should be fighting for our kids to be better and to achieve better. And it's hard work. I think we heard the teachers talk tonight. That's always profound and good, but it is not easy. It is not easy in the field. Our teachers work really, really hard for our kids, and they need us. They need all of us, not just us, the 7 of you all and me, but they need all of us to be there for them. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Kelly. Latona, next item.
New business and Board of Education requests.
Okay. Let's see. Any requests? Okay.
No requests. I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Okay. Yesterday was World Teachers Day. And since it was a weekend, I couldn't say, I could say it, but I didn't. But I came across something that I want to read. This morning, a second grader looked me straight in the eye and said, "You don't know anything about Roblox. My dad says you're too old to teach kids now." He wasn't being cruel, just honest, the way children often are. Still, the word stung. My name is Mrs. Ellis, and after 34 years, I locked my classroom door for the very last time today. When I started in the late 80s, teaching felt like stepping into sunlight. Parents shook my hand at open house night. Kids left drawings on my desk with shaky letters, "I love you, teacher." I spent weekends cutting shapes for bulletin boards, writing encouraging notes in the margins of spelling tests, and humming little songs from Morning Circle. Back then, joy was as much a part of the job as chalk dust. Somewhere along the way, the world shifted, not loudly, not all at once, but like sand slipping under your feet until you realize you're standing on nothing solid. Now, evenings mean typing up incident reports just in case. Parents point phones at me when a child has a tantrum. I've been shouted at in hallways, not by kids, but by the adults who raised them. And no one asks if I'm okay. The children have changed too, not because they're worse, but because life is heavier on their little shoulders. They walk in tired, buzzing from screens, sometimes carrying anger they can't name. And somehow I'm expected to fix it all with a box of crayons and 6 hours a day. And yet I stayed, because for every storm there was still a spark. A timid girl whispering, "I can read this whole page by myself." A note tucked into my drawer, "Thank you for being nice when I was sad." A child hugging me and saying, "You feel like home." Those moments were my currency. They paid for the sleepless nights. But this year, the air felt heavier. More fights, more fear. Our counselor left before winter break. Substitutes stopped showing up altogether. And me, I felt like a ghost. The patience that once defined me had been stretched to threads. Today, as I pulled the last crayon drawing off my wall, I found a card from 1997. "You made me believe I was smart." I cried, because that used to be the heart of this job. No test scores, no data points, just helping a child feel seen. There was no farewell assembly, no flowers, just a quick handshake from the new principal, his eyes fixed on his buzzing phone. I left behind my rocking chair, my sticker box, the hundreds of stories I once read aloud with silly voices. But I carried with me the trust of every child who ever leaned on me when the world felt too big. Well, what's going to come next? Maybe I'll volunteer at the library. Maybe I'll plant tomatoes. Or maybe I'll just sit on my porch drinking tea, remembering when classrooms were built on kindness instead of checklists. Because I miss it. I miss when parents and teachers were allies, when education was about growing hearts, not just filling bubbles on a sheet. If you know a teacher, past or present, thank them. Not with mugs or apples, with patience,
with respect, with trust. Because while the world sped past, they stayed and they stood, and they carried the weight of children who might otherwise have been forgotten.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah. Any other comments or requests? Okay. Seeing none, I don't normally do this, but I think when extraordinary things happen with board members, I think it's a good thing to highlight. And so for those that don't know, our own Hazel Stabler was in Milan this last week because she was invited to display her clothing line. And so for those that don't know, Hazel is an international clothing designer and has headlined at the New York Fashion Week, the Paris Fashion Week, now the Milan Fashion Week, and next year probably going to Tokyo. And so I think it's an incredible opportunity because not only was she representing her work and her culture, but also she did represent the Wichita Public Schools. And so just on the behalf of the Wichita Public Schools board and all of us in the Wichita Public School system, we just want to say thank you, Hazel, for representing us so well on the international stage. Okay, Latona, next item.
Adjournment? Oh, you didn't go around.
Okay.
the table. Did you
We
have a report? Okay. You don't have a report? Okay.
What we were just doing.
I'm sorry. Just never
Okay,
mind.
well,
Okay. Yeah, it's all good.
do we need to vote for adjournment? We don't have a. Can we just raise our hands?
Yeah, you can just raise her.
Okay. I move that we adjourn.
A second.
Motion made by Diane, seconded by Kathy. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned. Thank you.
It's not quite 9 o'clock, is it?
All right.
Where's the clock? On your